Hello and welcome back to Your Turn. I'm your host, Nazi Javid. We're talking about the terrible conflict that's occurring right now in Gaza as we speak. And you were just telling me, Dr. Mansour, how you visited personally the West Bank, and you were telling us a little bit about what it was like for you there. You said there were checkpoints and certain things like that. What else did you see?
It goes beyond that. I mean, you talked earlier about religion and freedom of religion. I am, for example, being a Muslim, I would always love to visit, the Jerusalem, which is, holy to Muslims, and it has the greatest, one of the second greatest mosque, or the third greatest mosque in Islam.
And it's divided, isn't it?
And it's not just divided, it's being circled. The West Bank today is a big jail because it's being circled by a wall that the United Nations and the Justice Court in The Hague have declared it illegal. This is a wall that is, what, maybe 12, maybe 30, 40 feet high, that circles Palestinian communities. And so you have that's the wall of the big jail, and within you have about 650 checkpoints in a small land, that wherever you go, you have to go through these Israeli checkpoints. I talked about the ability to visit Jerusalem. As a Palestinian, although I'm an American, I have American passport, but because my ancestor is Palestinian, I was not permitted to visit Jerusalem, although with American passport. It tells you about what kind of state, Israel is. It is the most, I mean, we're talking about apartheid. There is roads in the West Bank that only Israelis could ride on. Does that bring any kind of resemblance of what's been happening in South Africa? There is of course roads. There is, and each community there's ghettos. I mean, it's just South Africa I mean, the experience of South Africa will diminish, if you compare it with what's happening to the Palestinians today. It is, but unfortunately, South Africa people stood up for that apartheid regime, and they toppled it. But what we found, because I don't know why. I mean, maybe I could make some predictions, but it's not time to do that. But the world is also supporting this, as if the Palestinians are not human beings.
That's another thing I was going to bring up. You brought up Bush, Bush's stance and all this. Where is President-elect Obama, his stance in all of this?
Honestly, it's disappointing so far. I mean, we thought, they're going to be change, and they had, I mean, we all being cheerful about, the Obama presidency. Obama, I don't know, of course, at least he could have came out and denounced, what's happening in Gaza. I mean, yesterday he equated a game between Palestinians and Israelis, and he said he want to stop, well, of course, first the innocent people in Israel first, because these are more innocent, and one of them is worth maybe 1,000 Palestinians. Yeah, I mean, look at it. Four Israeli civilians died, versus now about more than 4,000 being killed and injured. So that's 1 to 1,000 almost. So, an Israeli is worth 1,000 Palestinians. And he came, and people are equating between these and these. It's just a tragedy. We hope that when he assumes presidency, he will take an active role in putting a clamp on what Israel could do, because honestly, Israel, without the support of the United States, could not get away with these atrocities and these crimes that they are committing today. And Bush, of course, in fact, if you look at it, the Israelis tried to destroy Gaza before the end term of Bush. It's an interesting, it's not a coincidence. It is a coordination between the Bush administration and, I think, Israeli policymakers, to do away with this. So the whole world, the United States government will keep the whole world at bay of not saying anything about what's going on. And that's exactly what's happening. Today, the United States is the only entity, standing between a United Nations resolutions that would call for ceasefire.
Why? I mean, yeah, obviously it's very complicated. This side is exactly why.
It's a Bush mentality. I think Bush, and I think his administration, with whatever evil it has represented for this country, and I think he has some ideological maybe thoughts. Honestly, I mean, he talked about being a crusader. He talked about I think he has just enmity towards Arabs and Muslims. I honestly, I can't understand it, you know.
And do you think 9/11 played a huge part in why people think this way now?
I think we, the Palestinians, have paid a heavy price, you know, for 9/11 in terms of the people of the world being sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. Unfortunately, people began equating, you know, putting us on the same boat.
Just like Iran.
Exactly. I mean, unfortunately, now the word terrorism is being used. Anybody who would stand up for their own rights. You know, I mean, and the Bush administration has exploited 9/11 in order to pursue an agenda that the neocon, you know, has been pursuing and has been planning to pursue. And I think we end up being on, unfortunately, on the wrong end, and the Palestinians have paid a heavy price for it.
What's going to happen next? Where is this going?
I wish I could have magic and tell you what's going to happen. Unfortunately, I don't see much hope of change. I think Israel is still pursuing its own agenda with, you know, not recognizing the Palestinians' rights. I think without justice, there will be no peace, in my opinion. We always, you know, say that justice, peace, and justice, you know, they should go hand in hand. I think justice is not being served today, and that's why I'm not optimistic about the future until. I think if an Obama administration would come in and tell Israel enough is enough, these people have some rights. I'm not saying all their rights. And it's time to recognize those rights. And then hopefully there will be a leadership amongst Israel, which I doubt it will happen. Like what happened in South Africa, you know, Botha came and he said enough is enough, and he declared it's over. I don't think Israel is in a position to do that because it's enjoying the world support. And without that, honestly, we're going to be seeing more bloodshed, more wars, and nothing is going to happen in the near future unless Obama takes a U-turn. Because you have to remember that these weapons that Israel uses today are being paid by us.
I'm going to stop you right there. We got to take it to break, and we'll be back with more on this very important topic. Stay with us.